Welcome to our little retail roundtable bright and early on a beautiful sunny morning. We're getting ready to have another weekend here in Northern Michigan where we are open, and the rest of the state will be joining us soon in the retail world. So we wanted to just take a moment to do some best practices and talk about what you've experienced, what questions you have, what concerns you have, if there's anything that you need us to help you with, how your messaging is doing, and what really truthfully is your hurdles going forward. We know that there's a lot to do with occupancy, masks, customers with that and not with that, and how your employees are dealing, and how you're dealing with occupancy square footage and adjusting your space too. So we have lots we want to hear about and lots we want you all to talk about. So we're going to just kind of do a quick little run around, everybody say who you are and who you're with, and talk a little bit about where you're at right now if you do have a retail location. So I'm Nikki with the Petoskey Chamber. Lisa, go ahead.
Hi everyone, Lisa Hoyt, membership with the Petoskey Chamber.
Emily, I'll let you say your hello.
Hi, Emily. I'm the events and program coordinator.
Andy, why don't you go?
I'm Andy, and I am with Downtown Petoskey, and I'm the promotions coordinator.
Gary, would you like to go?
Hi, Gary Albert. I own Rough Life Pet Outfitters.
Deb? You're muted?
Thank you. I'm Deb Smith from the Women's Resource Center. We operate the Goldmine resale stores here in town.
Thank you for joining us, Deb. Sharon?
Absolutely.
Hi, Sharon Schoppacher here. I don't have a retail store, but I'm with SCORE, and I wanted to find out what everybody's doing and make sure you know we're here to help and see if I can get any tips to help some of our other clients.
Thanks, Sharon. Derek?
Hi, Derek from Wireless Media. Same thing, Sharon. What's going on?
And Charlene?
Hi, I'm Charlene from Bucini's. So we were able to open a theater most of them. So.
Fantastic. So I think first and foremost, wise, I'd love to hear from our retailers on the call is that, so you were able to open, good. How does that look for you as far as occupancy? Were you able to figure out what your occupancy was and put forth the plan based on the repairs you and what you saw in preparing before you even open. So I'd like you to take a second and maybe some of the things you learned in getting that prep portion with the rest of the businesses. So that to be open, we hope we'll be opening soon. We can give them a little idea what that looks like. Gary?
Sure. So as far as the plan we were supposed to have in place by Monday, I just I had not looked all that out. But we're pretty much doing everything. You know, I didn't use the equation for figuring out how many people can be in your store because there are so many things in my stores that are taking up square footage that we just right now are limiting it to 3 customers at a time. If they're different customers, so if you're family of 4 and one in the store, we'll let you in. We're just occupancy, and you know that's fine. Everyone has been pretty respectful with masks and sanitizer. I think, you know, I just one little person who owns a title agency whose name I won't divulge, but using a curbside pickup when he came in, I was like going, dude, there's my for you, you know, and we're friendly, so it's not good. We've been doing it for a long time. And so I was picking up the bag. I'm like, well, let's pick the bag and have you know, and we had a couple come in like, excuse me, it was Saturday, I said, oh, guys, you can sanitizer and we're irritated that I know of. They didn't outwardly show it, but all I could think of was like, well, you're going to be pretty disappointed in every store you walk in downtown, you know. And that was like our first customer walk through the door.
Yeah.
Other than that, everyone's been really great. They're using the sanitizer on the way in. They're using the sanitizer on the way out. That way, they're not leaving anything by touching it. No matter what the CDC says about surfaces or merchandise, I just like to err on the side of safety. And that way, when they go out, they're sure that they're not taking anything with them. We're trying to be as visible as possible with wiping down the door handles rather, and common like areas like the counter and stuff like that. And you know, it's going pretty well. We've truncated our hours from, well, we used to be open 7 days a week. That'll probably change for July. Well, no. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped something. We're now open Tuesday through Saturday, 11 to 5. Curbside pickup. You can come into the store. And we've expanded our online store to I think we have a code called Townie that allows people to bypass the shipping charge, and that lets us know that it's a pickup. And then we just contact them, let them know their order is ready, and they can pick it up during those times. So I think for July, we will probably go to 7 days. And, you know, depending on how numbers go, because they're starting to increase a little as of this morning or yesterday at 3. And as we heard from the one case from the casino and another one, a person from Ohio. Luckily, I have a direct line via some customers to the hospital. So they let us know, you know, when we talk to them, like what's going on, and or we can call them and just say, hey, are these numbers correct? You know, but you know, we're just trying to do everything the right way and the way we're supposed to be doing it by law or by mandate.
Good, good.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
And then we're also, I mean, the staff, we're doing our distancing. We're doing our wiping down of the keyboards if we're sharing a station. We're trying not to share stations. We're trying to be in separate areas as much as we can.
Do you have markings on the floor? I mean, you're small retail. Okay. And
we have arrows. The first weekend we had like those, you know, the chain things just to kind of separate the area where you're in front of the counter checking out. And that worked, but that was an expense. And luckily, and Nikki, you probably know more about this than I do, but I don't know if it's part of the PPP or if it's something that we can write off somehow, but any expense that you incur regarding COVID, which means masks, sanitizer, those stanchions I was just talking about, tape, I bought a wagon to deliver to cars, you know, all that stuff will be able to be
part of the PPP.
Part of the PPP and forgivable. So save your receipts for all that stuff.
And that's a big thing because it ties into, obviously, you know, the employee part of the PPE. And there is some flexibility coming for those who haven't seen. It did pass last night, the PPP flexibility.
It did not?
It did.
Oh, it did.
It
oh,
did.
Right. As
So
did
that's going to extend.
As did the extension of the time.
Yep. So that's going to extend how long you can calculate forgiveness. So that's going to be a big deal, and a lot of other things too. There's a lot in that that new PPP.
Have you summarized it yet?
No, they have not summarized it yet.
Okay.
Waiting for final signature today.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So, and then we'll get the final details. So we'll blast that out the second that I almost sent it out last night, but then there's always that fear. So it's like, let's just wait a minute. So.
Hey, Gary, I have just one question for you. With regards to your online sales and online ordering, are you seeing a big jump in that?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, you know, except for the year we were in Real Simple magazine with the auto dog mug for dogs, you know, it's just been, it's not been that great. I mean, we have customers in the summer who will order from us on a monthly basis or whatever, but it hasn't been a lot. And then I sent out an email in April and it just jumped. It was wild. I can't say what percentage of our income it was, but we are, right now we're working with a former seasonal employee who's back, and I thankfully before the PPP I hired in her boyfriend who's doing they're both doing about 8 weeks, right? They're going 8 weeks out with social media, email, They're just covering all the stuff, and it's like kind of a marketing plan essentially. And
Nice.
we're hoping, and we put all of our food online. We're not going to ship it, but at least you can go online, get your bag of food, and pick it up, and not have to come into the store. And luckily, at least for now, we have that parking. We have the
Curbside.
parking
bag.
Yeah. And I think that's huge that you're keeping your online and curbside presence, because that really truly is, I think, going to be a big part of your summer. There's going to be, and it's going to be your locals, I think, more than anything else, who are just not comfortable coming in, and they would much prefer to have that curbside option. So,
or they don't want to necessarily look for parking. They'd rather pull up, and I'd say, they're like, I can't find parking. I said, just double park. We'll be right out.
Yeah.
It's no different than a delivery. Like,
I was gonna say, it's no different than UPS every other delivery.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Good.
And if this spikes again, we're going to need that, Lisa. We're going to need that online.
You absolutely have to. You have to keep it going forward, I think, because I don't think you're going to see. I think there's going to be a portion of online and curbside that is going to become part of our lifestyle for a while. And for a while, that could be this time next year. That could be permanently. We just don't know. And I think the adaptability of businesses with that online store is a big way to go. And you guys do a good job with it. You were doing it from the get-go because you were allowed to, and essential. So you had to ramp that quick.
Yeah, and we were closed for face-to-face for a long time. We did not necessarily have to be, but at the same time, we were one of 2 or 3 stores downtown that were open, and no one was coming downtown, right? So we just closed the door to face-to-face, and we strictly did curbside for the locals who needed food, and that was fine for a while. Just so everyone knows, I'm on the DMB, the Downtown Management Board, and one of the things we're having a special meeting on Tuesday, right, Andy?
I think so, yeah.
And we are at which time we're going to kind of we're going to take the resolutions that the City Council passed and kind of come up with a more solid plan, right? And one of the things I want to push for are those 15 minutes, like the 15-minute spot by
in front of the chamber. Mm-hmm.
Chamber. I think there should be an identical one done by North Goods, and I think it should be that way on every block, right?
Or something.
For curbside or for deliveries?
Curb. You mean like deliveries from UPS?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know. I think they'll just continue doing the same thing. But
I can tell you from experience that people don't obey that 15-minute very often.
Yeah, especially someone from the chamber.
Yeah, I obey it at night. Well, at night when nobody's around, I could park there. But like today, I actually had stuff to unload out of my car, and I pulled in, and there was a woman who was just sitting in her car, just do.
Probably playing Pokemon Go.
I was like, honey, can you let me park? Just let me unload really quick. No,
I will say from experience that, it's nice to have those curbside pickup spots. It's just that if I want one, well, Craig and Ryan and I kind of share one, but then Sarah has one for Parkside Deli, and then there's the 15-minute spot, and then,
it's a lot.
It's a lot. So I would think it would be for curbside pickup, but again, we'll discuss that at next week's meeting and hopefully come up with a viable solution for every block. Right now, I think what was proposed, Andy, was one curbside pickup per facing for each side of the street, or depending on the block?
I think so. One per block. I believe so. Because, right, it would be more than what we have right now, right?
No, well, we have more right now than.
Okay.
It'd be less.
So it might be less, but it just depends.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We'll talk
Plus
about
being
it.
on the ends would help too.
Yeah.
I think that should be permanent, quite frankly. the 15-minute on every block, but
Yeah.
that's not for me to, well, for me to bring up. It's not for me to
Yeah.
decide.
Yeah.
Well, let's stay in the downtown for a minute. Charlene, how are you guys doing? When did you open and how did it go? How was your prep?
Well, we ended up opening up Saturday of a Memorial Weekend. We were going to open up on Friday, but we didn't have everything printed and ready to go quite yet. Luckily, I live with a carpenter, so he built me some really awesome shields around the counter. So I had
Nice.
a whole counter completely like boxed in. But we worked with Village Press in Traverse City because unlike a lot of the other small businesses in downtown Petoskey, we have multiple locations, and Traverse City is where our home base is. Village Press turned their whole printing into all COVID reopening stuff. So literally they were working 24 hours. They were having 3 shifts and 4 shifts a day. So within 3 days, they had all of our, like these beautiful vinyl floor stickers made for us, arrows made for us. They had these really awesome sign that had like our protocol, like right in the
Nice.
front, this big sign that says masks are required and they're available if you do not want to wear them. Like everything's super professionally printed. For the other stores that don't have a carpenter, they also provided the shield. So I'm sure we paid pretty money for it. I don't really know what it was, but it was really awesome that Village Press did that. And they were working around the clock to make sure all the businesses that needed them were taken care of. So we kind of got ours together pretty quickly. Refilling my store was an issue because I all of our files there by hand.
Yeah.
I had taken everything we had to the warehouse because when this first started, I was working at the warehouse because our online sales were like Christmas again. So unfortunately, there were places for the managers. So all the managers who don't work in the warehouse were really coming out of their way to being warehouse employees. Another issue we had kind of efficient errors. But we were very fortunate to have such a strong online presence. And then within 2 weeks, we opened back up to curbside again. But for a while, I mean, it was definitely hard working hours to be able to get started and everybody's been coming in, so I'm really compliant. So Gary said, for a while, people that roll their eyes and whatever. And I bought them like sold them. And since they're awesome, by the way, just wondered. I've had a few leaves a lot by people that wanted to store. We don't have them come over and like, hey, I'm so it would be nice if everyone kind of like offer use masks. Some people are going to use them, but you're not taking masks.
I'm not a fake mask for I good with that, but I also have supply masks that I started ordering back in April.
Yeah. It's one of those things, right? I'm super not going to do. I'm not going to do days, but it's really not a mask. It's just people have to every because you're running like another thing was I want to call businesses not forcing. We're forcing this simple ones I want my customers and my staff especially to okay, I'm building my store. And that means everyone walks the store has to have a mask on, sanitizing everything. But there's a lot of stores I walked into where I'm wearing a mask and nobody else is in the store. And you know, the employees might be wearing masks, but they just let people walk right in and out without having masks on. And I'm not comfortable being a customer at these places, alone how other customers might feel or their employees. Their employees, you know, kind of copy. If your employees wearing a mask and you're allowing customers to have a mask, like yeah.
And that's the
the point is that now you're as an employee you're protected from those if you decide to let them in, and that's what you have to stress to them. And I think that's part of the COVID response plan, especially in school, because you as a leader you have a responsibility and you have to be compliant and put a plan for them. They have to understand it.
Yeah, but I think what's really important is to think, you know, for employees, they're with us all the time, and for us to dismiss any of our employees' fears about anything to dismiss fears about anything. Really kind of create on our part. It's important that we listen to our employees' fears. It was really hard to even come back to begin with, and now that they're back, you know, what I mean, I'm not gonna say, well, you just walk in really without masks. It's really real. You don't have to wear one if you want to. Like, not the way I'm gonna work, and it's very frustrating to see many businesses happen to not. I mean, they're like, well, customer comes in, they have a mask on, put a mask on. Customer comes in and they don't have a mask on, take a mask off. I'm like, wait, what? Hold on a minute here. So that's the thing that I wish people took a little bit more seriously right now, because it's making the ones who are really following these guidelines to a T. We were told that we needed to have this for everybody to be safe. It makes us like, wait a minute, it's optional rest downtown. Why are you making them?
It's so funny that you mentioned that it's optional, and I think those businesses are so that they can be spoken with.
I think it's just coaching too, and that's one of the things we're trying to do is, you know, I know that in the first couple of weeks there was some fear from businesses of repression, possible lawsuit, possible, you know, discrimination if you tell somebody with a mask. And the last executive order actually outlines that businesses cannot be held in any regard for asking somebody to wear a mask and refusing them entrance if they do. So last executive order actually gave a little bit more protection to business owners, so they have that, so that kind of removes that excuse. And to your point, Gary, too, that your COVID preparedness plan as a retailer is to coach and protect your employees. And what it doesn't say is protect them from a health standpoint. But I agree, as retailers, as business owners, you have a responsibility to your employees' mental being as well. So if you're giving them the masks, if you're giving them the training and the protocol, but you're not requiring your customers to follow what is mandated, and you're allowing them anyway. Mentally beneficial for your point, and I think that's what you have to look at.
And it's not really fixed, right? It's not on a unit-based downtown either.
Or for the entire Petoskey area. For us, not just the downtown, it's the entire region and how we are perceived as a region.
And you know, of course, we're always in like, I'm really right, all people have been trying to be on service industry, and I have not really speak or to feel comfortable telling people, I'm sorry, you have to wear a mask. I mean, you can say it super politely, as nice as you want. And I've given them that okay, because at first they're like, they weren't wearing a mask. I'm like, then you can tell them that they can't come into the store without a mask, and that has given them such a sense of security, knowing that that's a requirement to come into our store. And being able to empower my employees to be able to say that to people has given them a really sense of being safe in a work environment that's necessary. So that's a huge thing for me. I mean,
I have a question for you with the staff then at the retail, because at the gold mines we're doing the same thing. We've got all the signs up. We're requiring them. Our staff are required to wear them. And we've talked with the staff about the wording to use and all of that, but that key word being enforce.
Yes.
So far, luckily, we've not had anybody really push it. We had a couple people bring it very political and say that, oh, well, we must be Democrats. And then they luckily just turned around and left the store. But our staff is really, several of our staff are really concerned about weight, having to really be the person to say, if it gets to that point of, no, then you need to leave the store. Our manager, you know, takes a day off every now and then, and she may be in the back working with 5 customers donating and stuff. And so has anybody had any problem at all with where a customer really has pushed that just kind of barreled their way in, or we're okay if they just complain, great, fine, thank you,
We
bye.
haven't heard anything, Deb, and we've, you know, we're trying to keep our ear to the ground for all the businesses as possible for this. So we haven't heard anything, but we know it's a fear for our business owners.
Sure.
Has Andy heard anything?
Well, my mom works at Reed Furniture, and they had a customer that came in and refused to wear a mask, would not do it. The owner actually came out also and said, listen, I have to keep my staff safe. This is a mandatory requirement to come into my store. It's both for you and for my staff. And still he was very adamant. Nope, this is ridiculous. A yelling match kind of ensued too. And he left. And he just kind of said, you know, this is ridiculous, that kind of thing. Got a little political, you know, sheeple, as people are saying too. You know, the sheep following. But he was adamant and said, listen, this is for my staff, and that person left. That's really the only main one I know of. But I have heard quite a bit of how it's really difficult, especially in downtown, because like Charlene said, some people are really enforcing masks and some people aren't. So some people will come into a restaurant and not wear a mask, and then, you know, they're asked to put on their mask, and then they say, well, oh, down the street I didn't have to wear it. You know, so it is really difficult, and it's people on that same page of, you got to wear a mask, you know, and it's, you know, for the good of everyone too. But that one at Reed Furniture is really the main one that I know of. Because I deliberately asked my mom, I was like, have you had anyone? Because that was my biggest fear, is people, and, you know, these poor college kids that are working and having to be a voice to an adult and tell them, no, you have to wear a mask. And she said, you know, they just had that one person. And that was also, I think maybe like in the beginning when they opened back up too. They haven't had much issues since then, but that's really the only one that I've heard of.
We haven't had I mean, people are eye rolling, or like they put their mask down around their chin, and I'll be like, hey, you can pull your mask up over your face because that's where it belongs. But
yeah,
we've really not had a problem because we have kept our numbers in like 300 fonts on the window with our phone number on it. So if someone has a problem, I mean, we are fortunate enough to have an online presence that I can say, just go on our website, pick out what you want, call me, and I'll rent it out to your car. Like, that's not been an issue for me. Unfortunately, Deb, for you, that's not really an option. So, but for us, it's a pretty easy fix. Most people don't want to do that, but it's a pretty easy fix.
I think the best thing that we can do, and Sharon would probably agree, is that, you know, even for our employees, if a manager's not there, is, you know, agree with them. Yeah, I know it's kind of a pain, but, you know, this is for your safety as well as ours. And, you know, we do have online shopping, and, you know, be as pleasant as possible and making it into a positive thing for them. You know, you don't necessarily have to come downtown at all. I mean, I guess my thing with Reed's, I'd be like, you know, I'll give you the number of our designer, and you guys can work over Zoom, you can work over email, and, you know, come up with a solution that's beneficial for both of them. If that's something they don't want to do, they're simply looking for, you know, information, or they want a coffee table or whatever. It's like, you know, you can you can communicate with them. I know we like to go in and touch stuff and sit in it and feel it or whatever, but you're not knowing what that person's needs were. But
Yeah.
there are always positive ways you can spin it to make it seem like we're doing all of this stuff that we're doing for them, right?
Well, and I completely agree with you. There's ways to handle it too. And another thing with my situation too is because we're kind of a food establishment, so we can't do any filling of bottles when customers are in the store. We cannot offer a refill service anymore. We cannot do tastings anymore. So everything about the Fusini's experience has changed for me. So people just come in and kind of window shop, which is not what we do at all. So for us, it's kind of a wonky, we're in this really wonky situation. So people do get a little irritated. Another thing that we've been doing, because we're not being able to offer people the full Fusini's experience when they walk into our store, we're offering little tiny sample bottles for everybody that walks in the store, because I'm sorry you couldn't taste today, or I'm sorry you couldn't get your bottles refilled. I hear you and I feel you, but I'm going to give you something because of it. So even just like a gift certificate, like a $5 gift certificate or something that they can use the next time, has really helped curb anybody's irritation that they can't come in and sample something. So even being able to give your customers something like that. So even if they might be irritated about stuff, let them know you understand where you're coming from, and then give them something tangible that they can come in and really use and utilize.
Charlene, I have a question for you. Say if I came into your shop and I wanted to taste some of this stuff, isn't it something that you can do where if you can personally come over with a gloved hand and a masked face, pour it, and give it to me to taste? You know what I mean? So, that way I'm getting a personalized customer experience from my own personal, salesperson.
Right. So we've been trying to wrap our brain around this for a long time, and I finally came up with a solution to do some sort of like private tasting in our kitchen, and I felt very comfortable with it. And then Whitmer put out the order that there's no sampling in any stores right now. So it's part of it. I can't legally do it right now, unfortunately. So I'm sure it'll probably change, but I mean, I was ready to go for privatized tastings. And I could have made it work, one person or two people in the same group at a time. But I had to get them off the sales floor so they could take their masks off. Just like if you're in a restaurant, you have to get them away from where the product is and where the customers are. And I did have a plan in place, but not all of our stores are set up exactly the same. Right. I could have done it, but then Whitmer was like, no, there's no sampling in any stores anymore. It'd be kind of like sampling in a grocery store. It just doesn't, even though we're here and we're overseeing it, we're kind of lumped into that category. So
all it takes is one time.
Right. But if you come into my store and buy something, I'll be happy to give you a little sample bottle, Gary.
Yeah, there are challenges. I think, Matt, really truthfully, what we've seen since opening is the collaboration in everybody doing the same thing, as you've all indicated, that you walk into one place and it's the same as it is everywhere else. We worked really hard, and I know that McLaren's got an extra stack of the big 11 by 17 Welcome to Petoskey, We're Open in a New Way posters that we're trying to distribute into the parks, into the grocery stores. Everywhere you go, you'll see those, not just retail, not just restaurant, not just the downtown. And the intention with that is that people just know that, everybody's doing the same thing. And, we're looking at ways to, and maybe it's more media attention. Maybe it's not just media attention locally. Maybe it's trying to get some media attention downstate to say, in Northern Michigan, we mask up and welcome you, and we want to see you, and we're looking forward to it. But we ask that when you come and join us, you wear a mask, and for your safety and for the safety of our employees and staff, because we love you here, kind of thing. Yes.
Andy, question, and this is something that we could probably discuss on Tuesday's meeting, but you can regionally focus Facebook ads for downtown Petoskey, right?
Yeah.
So, is that something that we're
diverting money that we normally would have spent on an event to so that they know ahead of time in their feed?
Yep, it's not been done yet, but it's something that we can easily feasibly do. And I'm gonna make a note of it. And because I know since we do have these canceled events, we are trying to figure out, you know, where to appropriately put those funds to helping. But that's definitely something we can do.
I think that's a good way for the downtown to have.
Even the chamber too, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to do it.
Especially
Just
with
not
the
with
stay-at-home
the-
order
Up
now
north masks
lifted,
for
you
safety.
know.
Up north masks for safety. Up,
Or something.
Lisa. Up north masks up
up.
for safety. Yeah. Okay. You want me to say that on an interview?
Or rather, keep Petoskey strong,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? By doing business the way we're doing business now,
Yeah.
and this is how we're doing business.
Yeah, I think we're really, and I was actually on a call with a non-retailer, another Petoskey business who is not retail, but is allowed to be open in a different sense. And we had a long conversation yesterday about how absolutely difficult the mask issue is getting for them, for the safety of their employees, because people that are coming in that are not locals will not wear a mask. Or are leaving, and they're put in that position that nobody wants to be put in. One of the things we discussed with the restaurants yesterday too was the possibility of, it's, as Charlene said, you know, we're trained, we do a great job of hospitality in Northern Michigan. We've had, you know, I think many hundreds of thousands of Northern Michigan people who work with the public have been through a hospitality program at one point or another. And is it time to give our frontline workers a dose of hospitality in a new way and offer them a webinar like this, where the messaging is, okay, the customer might not be right this time, and here's how you do it.
Yeah.
As Gary indicated, those positive conversations. Gary and you and I could act out how to handle it in a million different scenarios.
Right, I know, we could.
But I think that could be very valuable for any business right now, because we are, you know, a hospitality industry, and we have worked so hard in Northern Michigan to get the reputation we have, and it is ingrained in all of us that the customer is always right. And it's not to say they're not right this time, it's just their opinion and want is not right for the safety and well-being of our community and our employees. So unfortunately, you're going to have hopefully not a full-on confrontation, but a conversation that's going to make your employee uncomfortable, and tasking them with what they need and the tools, not just hearing it from their employer, but maybe also hearing it from others. And that solidarity might help a lot.
I think it's a great
Even
idea.
along those,
So I have a question. Andy, has there been any conversations with the businesses that are not being compliant? Because we can talk all day long about, you know, that one difficult customer, and we're going to have those, whether it's COVID or not, that there's that training that goes on. We can have those steps. If our business is following all those, we still have to have that issue. And we can take those steps as a business to correct that. But I think, you know, Charlene was sort of saying that, you know, our message is stronger, and if we're going to be Petoskey strong, our message is stronger if we are all doing the same thing. What can we do, and what kind of outreach to help those businesses high? Because it's going to be a lot easier to get it's consistent folks. You know, the people that I are a lot of times when I was I sent a joke email to text and emails earlier, because there's a family, they got into their truck that was from Texas, full family at Meyer, no mask during the early morning hours, which is supposed to be designated for people to be extremely careful and safe. So I think there was, you know, and I think the big box stores do have a challenge just because, you know, numbers alone, of how many people are coming in and out, and policing that is, you know, a challenge. But how can we get that messaging out to people who are doing it in a way where we're not going to get sort of a combative answer?
And I don't know. I should ask Becky for. She would probably be the person that would individually talk to a business about that. Go ahead, Gary.
Here's a big box store, you know, and to keep ourselves, whether it's downtown or the chamber, kind of out of a potentially adversarial, is to have the Department of Health step in. They're the ones that,
That's what
I'm
I
not
was saying,
mistaken,
I'm not sure.
enforce.
The messaging that comes necessarily from now for the big box stores, the issue that they found, Smart Walmart, Home Depot, and they've had all along, is that their corporates will not, they post, please wear a mask, please stay 6 feet, please stay apart, but their corporates are being a little less likely to let them enforce masks or stand or use, because what they're finding is they are a big target for a problem, for an issue. And the other thing is that what they're also discovering, and this started very early on, I especially, was the reason that I know that half the country now has asthma. So that's what they were discovering very early on, was that people, this instance, I want to say it was RBC, this instance where they had to, when coming in, it was very early on. You asked people to ask for COVID, they had asthma. And there was a lady behind her who cleaned the cars and infections, and the lady behind her was asking where she's not going to have to do, and it was like, so yeah, so it's essentially what the big box stores have found is much more difficult for them. And truthfully, honestly, they are their target. Protection from the executive order.
It interesting that they use that because, like, your cousin is a surgeon,
And she has to wear a mask all day long, and she's got asthma.
It
She seems to be just fine, but
it's
it might
just
be
that
We know it's an excuse.
Everybody knows
You know, it's an excuse because you have asthma, you're more likely to have one on for your own protection.
exactly.
So, but I think that if we can, you know, work with the downtown, maybe that is getting the health department, you know, finding what is that go between that could help those businesses,
It's the health department.
you know.
We could strongly, suggest, hey, just remember what we heard of. And it's hard too because like someone can say, oh, I was in this store and they were wearing a mask, and then we say something to them, and then they say, well, I was, So it's really hard too. But we could strongly suggest it, and that's what I was just thinking. I don't know who the appropriate ones to say this. We can send a message, talk to them, say, hey, I strongly suggest this as like a unified front for downtown also. But it would be, I guess, the health department then that you would technically like call on them, right? And then
So I have an idea, right? This is kind of, Nikki, what we had talked about doing with the next step of the customer service, training the businesses being certified. Maybe we create some sort of a signing program that you won't do this to sign, but we can identify which businesses are being most cautious and taking care of their employees and their guests. And I think also some sort of consistent message that we could use throughout the community. We've had the Petoskey Strong all along, but something that does address the mask. I think that would be really critical for us to develop.
Yeah, because when I have guests that are calling to ask what the protocol is, I am telling them, when you come in, yes, we are starting to open, but you will, wear a mask, make sure, because it is required out here. People from out of state are like, oh, really? And so there is that lack of information getting to people too. So, if there is some branding we can do that sort of crosses,
it's gonna have to go outside our
the health department. Say that again.
It's gonna have to go outside our region, the trick. But in the same token, it's gonna have to be that all of the businesses are on board with it. Doesn't matter how much messaging goes, how far it goes. There's time to walk into a business that isn't adhering or isn't enforcing the messaging you just had goes out the window. Right. So it's kind of a two-pronged thing. Keeping costs, I kind of like something to that effect. But it's got to be in the same way. Those businesses all have to be on board with that. And it's not so much you want to file. There's a very careful line when filing a complaint against business with the health department and having a big discussion or hey, like in case you weren't aware, we got this great campaign. Whatever we're going to call it, Petoskey Mask, Petoskey Safe, that's wrong that way. And we want to share more of this messaging across the region, and for those who come visit us, that this is the same thing everywhere. Can I ask, are you making sure all of your employees wear masks all the time? Are you letting them in if you're not wearing masks? Do you know that you can not liable by the exact order? Here, you see, you have something to sit with the fear of too. The more like telling your employees, well, I don't want to cause anything, so if they come in. So exactly. So I think conversation before complaint, I think is a good way to go.
Yeah, I think that's important, and I think that to take a positive spin on that conversation, because I found that some people are still saying, well, I can't find hand sanitizer, I can't find a mask. So we prefer this thing.
Oh yeah, Northern Michigan we are much better resource-wise than most places are.
And while they were difficult to find for a while, I can describe for you, I paid $20 for a 16-ounce pump bottle of gel. And I'm kind of stressed out because I've gotten the gypsy stuff and I put in the spray bottle. Like when people come to the door, they're met with a spray bottle. It's almost just like here. It's like those running perfume.
Yes. I totally got like hi.
Wash your hands.
Mine is fully restocked. Yeah. Meyer has over on their health and beauty side, when you come in, they have a full stock of all of the PPE now. They have masks now. I have not seen Clorox wipes or anything white related yet. I'm old school. I do the paper towel and the the pads.
Does anybody?
Don't say I didn't give you anything.
One other thing too, if you want to be ecologically minded and all this too, is Odaban, which I believe it comes in a gallon or so jug, and I bought like that pack of 20 microfiber cloths, right? And I just use one a day. You can dilute the Odaban in a spray bottle. It's a disinfectant that they use in dog, particularly like at the Humane Society.
Mm-hmm.
I use that to wipe it down. That way I can take these home every night or at the end of the week, wash them, and then I have for next, you know what I mean? It's just kind of a thing. And I'm not wasting paper towels.
Right.
Not wasting, I should say, but I'm not using paper products that just don't get recycled and,
right. No, I know exactly where you're going with that.
Yeah. So there are disinfectants available that aren't your name brand.
Right.
I think
don't think outside of the box. There's a lot to I've noticed that I've started to see some more of those crop up too, whether it be Grain Train or whether it be a big box store. It's still a disinfecting spray. It's just not what maybe you're used to.
Not Clorox and
it's not Clorox. Does anybody have anything else that you guys want to cover, want to talk about? Any questions for each other? Anything you want to see from us aside from what we've already discussed, which is, messaging, maybe some frontline improv training.
Darren or Derek, do you have anything to add that you haven't heard?
Questions?
Here this morning?
Yeah.
No.
No, this is all pretty much the same that we had from the other meeting we had yesterday, Nikki. So.
Yeah, because it's going to be universal right now.
Yep, everybody's just got to be
going
united.
to be universal.
We're seeing the same thing down here in Traverse City as well. So we're seeing a lot of places requiring masks downtown. So
yeah,
you're not alone.
Yeah, no, and nobody is right now. The rest of the state is going to find that out in just a little bit. It's definitely not as easy as it looks. Speaking of the rest of the state, go ahead, Deb.
Whoops, sorry. One other thing that we're having right now, which we have every summer, is we are trying to hire a couple new staff.
Yeah.
And we're still finding, that people are not coming out looking for new jobs or looking for jobs yet. And so that certainly then puts a crimp for us on even trying to manage our capacity and stuff. We almost are trying to figure out how we're going to be able to have a person almost at the front door, almost like meet and greet, so that we can ensure that we meet the capacity, because our stores aren't always set up where we can't just kind of look around and say, okay, great, we're at 25 now, we're at 13 or whatever. So staffing is, we're looking for staff certainly, and I know I've heard a couple other places are looking for staff, so that's another challenge along with all of this.
And that's going to be a challenge, unfortunately, until the end of July. And anybody any good for time frame, but that is when the pandemic ends unless they adjust it. The pandemic, not the pandemic ends. Yes, we're just going to wave a magic wand at the end of July. And it's over.
The money.
The pandemic unemployment.
At least that round, because
there is talk that it's going to. But there's also a lot of opposition to it right now. Unless there is a second wave, there's opposition to continuing it too much longer so that we do get the workforce rolling again. Yes.
Well, and I think you made a good point too, is having two people. This is Charlene, by the way. I'm not on video because I'm driving, but I think you made a good point too. Is we're doing the same thing. I have to have at least 2 staff on. Where this time of year, I don't need 2 staff on, but I don't feel comfortable leaving 1 staff member just in case, because if something, or if you get an angry customer, or my store gets at capacity, I have someone at the door to tell them, I'm sorry, I'm full right now, but as soon as someone leaves, you can go in the store. And so it is important to have the staff on board. I'm kind of in the same, I'm not as bad in the same boat because most of my staff has come back in some way, shape, or form, but it's a tricky situation right now because they're getting a lot of money, more than I can pay them being at home. So it is hard, and you're right. We need to bump up our staff for the safety of our staff. So,
and it's a complete and total double-edged sword, Charlene. Definitely, same, Deb, and they knew that was a risk. They absolutely, positively knew that was a risk. So we'll see where that goes moving forward, and the extensions on that too. Andy, you had your hand up.
I feel like there's also like a misconception too with like I'll get questions about sidewalk sales, which a decision has not been made about that. But I feel like there's a misconception about being outside, because I was talking with someone about an employee of downtown about sidewalk sales, and I said, a decision has not been made on it. And they say, well, it's outside, so you don't have to wear masks, you don't have to worry about anything. And I'm like,
well, here's the thing. Even the Dr. Meyerson at the health department. So on city council, that question came up, and that was being a discussion today. And even he said, if I'm in my park, or if I'm, socially distanced at a picnic table, I'm not going to wear my mask. If I'm walking downtown, and there's not a lot of people, I'm not going to wear my mask. But as soon as it starts to get crowded, as soon as it starts to feel like it's getting, too much, then absolutely wear a mask. And right now, outdoor gatherings are only allowed for 100 people. And, we obviously, as a chamber, have canceled Art in the Park for this year, which was a hugely hard decision. But if we're only at 100 outdoor people together right now, there is no way we're going to be at thousands, because that's what it is.
In July.
In the middle of July. And not only that, you cannot control outdoor situations as well. It's the reason fireworks are canceling. You're outdoors, but you can't control when you have those crowds coming in. You can't keep them 6 feet apart. You can't, even if you were to fence off all of Pennsylvania Park and have somebody counting, you have 100 artists alone.
Yeah, so I think that's the misconception when people think about those outdoor gatherings. They're like, oh, 100 people, that's a lot. Well, if you think about it, so, for Art in the Park, that's artists alone. Yes, the vendors count in those numbers, and the same farmers market, you know.
Same for sidewalk sales.
I have that challenge for next week where, you know, I think that the space is only going to allow between 50 and 75 people outside in that area for farmers market. Well, if I have about 20 vendors, you know, with 1 to 2 staff per booth, you know, we have to be careful and we have to watch. And if people, you know, everybody has to be really aware of that 6 foot, you know, spacing because of that. So
Emily, I have a question.
Yes.
Has there ever been, is anyone, you know, to not have to cut down the amount of vendors you have in that space, has anyone ever considered crossing Michigan and going into the rest of the Greenway, going down to like Petoskey?
Yeah, so this year, just so I can give sort of a little update before we head out, but we will be on Howard Street, and like last year where we were allowed to go on that Greenway, we have access to that area as well, and we're not cutting down on vendors. Anybody who would like to participate, we definitely have space for. So we can cross over and use Greenway, and we are also having a pre-order drive-through option. So right off of the Darling lot where Market was last year, there will be a forefront credit union tent. And if you have placed an order with those farmers ahead of time, you can go in, drive right through, they'll put it in your car, go, and then that will cut down on some of the foot traffic that goes directly to Market. So that's sort of how we figured out how to do that pre-order to help, you know, just like the curbside pickup helps to, you know, people who are planning like, okay, this is how, you know, I want to go to Market, but I want to get in and out, you know, and that'll help to, you know, keep those numbers down. And, but
how do you pre-order though, Emily? Do you call the individual farmer?
Yeah, so on our website, and it should be active by early next week, you will look at the listing of vendors and you'll be able to see exactly, and it'll be set up the same way we have our retail and restaurant guide on our website. So it won't look foreign to everybody. It'll say whether they have, you know, if their booth will have full product or if they're curbside only, or what their availability is at Market and what it will be. So it'll list all of the people who are participating, and we're going to have a little section of those who have opted out, just so people know who won't be there this year.
Right.
So you'll be able to look right through and say, oh, okay, well, Open Sky Farm has, you know, flowers and asparagus. So you'll be able to call them or use their website. Some have call service, some have website. So whatever that way the farmer wants you to communicate with them.
That's great.
Yep, it'll look like this page. Hang on, I'll show you. So this is the restaurant page on the Petoskey Strong website. So it'll look just like this, same thing. So it'll give everybody the availability if they have a website, phone number, hours, how that's going to work. And obviously those offerings will change based on farmers, but it will tie into what we've already done with carry out and curbside, and then what we've already done with retail as well. So the farmers market will look like that. So it'll keep giving people that opportunity to, you know what their options are. And we're hoping that helps everybody across the board, knowing that you have